We present My Word. A panel game devised by Tony Shryan and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Antonia Fraser.
Thank you very much. Today's battle will be between Dilys Powell and Frank Muir on one side, and Irene Thomas and Denis Norden on the other. First, a round to probe their vocabulary. Can you, Frank, tell me, or hazard a guess, at the meaning of the following word? Macaronic.
Yes.
Good.
It's an old 18th century word, isn't it? There are two meanings to this that I know of. One is, it means foppish. The macaronis were the fops who'd been to Italy and brought back and introduced macaroni into this country in about 1760. And so a foppishly dressed, would be dressed in a macaronic style. There's also macaronic verse, which being more literary is probably the one you want, isn't it? Which is a mixture of Latin, usually Latin, and your own language to humorous effect.
I think I'm going to definitely give you 2 marks. I did want the second meaning, really. Macaronic, I think, generally refers to literature. For example, Maius Wordus would be a macaronic way of referring to this excellent programme. But it was nice to hear about the fops as well. Irene, Numbles.
Numbels.
No, Numbles.
Oh dear. It sounds like something you find inside a dead animal, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah.
Keep on.
Is it the intestines of a dead stag?
You are absolutely brilliant.
Oh. Is that where eating humble pie comes from?
You're even more brilliant, and you're going to get a bonus mark.
Well, what about that? Try it sometime.
Dilys. Pragmatic.
Pragmatic, PRG. Pragmatic. It's something you attempt to do. It's an experiment, a trial, a practical trial.
Well, it often is held to mean that these days. The first meaning of pragmatic was not so pleasant. It meant officious and meddlesome, but it's come to mean learning practically from lessons. But that was very good, 2 marks. Denis, now first of all tell me in your own words, and then if you can, illustrate it. A Discobolus.
No, I'll give you some of my own words now. Now, it only has one meaning for me, and I can't illustrate it because I can't draw anything where the man isn't wearing a tie, because I can't do necks. And the Discobolus, as far as I remember, was that Greek statue of the chap who looks like he's, who the hell served me porridge? And he's getting rid of the plate. Throwing the discus.
Absolutely right. 2
now,
marks.
I can't illustrate, as I say, because he happens to have very little on. If he had a tie, I could give you a very good likeness.
Just wear a tie.
Now, before we go into round 2, here, Frank and Denis, are the quotations you were given for the last round. Frank, yours is Henry IV, Part 1, and yours, Denis, is For Whom the Bell Tolls. Now, a round entitled Four of a Kind. What do the following quartets have in common? Frank, a Ruffler, a Palliard, a Jarkman, and a Bedlam.
Bedlam was a beggar, a vagrant beggar in the Tudor and Elizabethan time, so-called because madmen, so-called, in Bedlam, in Bethlehem Hospital, were allowed to beg. So, on some days, professional beggars pretended to be from Bedlam, and they were called Bedlams.
Absolutely right.
Palliard was a chap with sores who was carried around in straw on a litter, begging. Also one of the 9 vagrants. So might the others be similar?
Yes, what they all have in common is that they are all beggars and vagabonds, and they were all mentioned in Shakespeare. A Jarkman would be a very awkward vagabond to encounter if we were about to get married.
Ah, a bogus clergyman.
Exactly.
For marrying heiresses.
Exactly. And a Ruffler, in fact, is a bogus war veteran who covers himself with bogus scars. But that was very good. 2 marks. Irene. Suck, squeeze, bang, and blow. What do these 4 terms have in common?
Suck, as in S-U-C-K.
Yes.
Squeeze, bang, and blow. Well, I suppose they're all terms you could apply to orchestral players. They all suck, squeeze, bang, and blow something, don't they?
Could be a one-man band again.
Could indeed. A chap with
does it all at once.
Absolutely, yes, with bells on his hat.
Well, I think that's perfectly logical, but in fact there is an area where these 4 terms, they are slang for 4 processes.
Oh, I see, yes. Well... Oh, you say I'll ring you on the blower, don't you, for a telephone? Is it anything technical like that? You know, modern,
yes.
Modern technology. But I think the telephone is modern technology. I'm sure some other people do.
Glass blow.
Oh, dear. Computer language, perhaps.
Not exactly. They really follow from each other. I tell you what they are. They're the words, the sort of slang for the cycle of a 4-stroke internal combustion engine.
Time. I was only testing you.
More formally known as induction, compression, ignition, and exhaust.
It's all relaxed.
Thank you.
Dilys, what have these 4 words got in common? A white horse, a red horse, a black horse, and a pale horse.
Pale horse is a biblical horse. He comes with the last world. The 4 horses of the apocalypse.
Yes.
In that film, which you're all too young to have seen. I'm not.
With the script by St. John the Divine, chapter 6. Well done. Denis. An inverted Fraulein.
Fraulein, yeah.
A bamboo slash, a Wally, and a double happiness with long pimples.
Do you know what a double happiness with long pimples? Do you know what they look? They look like the sort of chapter notes for a sort of Leslie Thomas novel. You know, in the first chapter it's about this Fraulein's hanging upside down, the bamboo slashes when the Virgin soldiers are in the jungle, you know, they do a lot of that, and so on. It may surprise you to know that I have not the faintest idea what double happiness with long pimples is. There seems to be retribution there.
Is it something to do with a game, perhaps?
A game, yes?
Yes.
All right. I'll play my Wally, and you come back with double happiness with long pimples, and you trump my bamboo slash.
It is to do with a game. They're the types of rubber surfacing upon table tennis bats. And you'll be happy to hear that they're authorised for use by the International Table Tennis Federation.
Well, I'm very relieved to hear that.
Now for a round of second lines. Can you recite the first, that is the opening line of the poem, whose second line is as follows? Frank. Ere slumber's chain has bound me.
It's a song, isn't it?
You may sing.
I may not, in fact, because I don't know it. A little voice says, how does it go? It's one of those dirgy ones, isn't it? I mean, sensitive ones that goes oft in the stilly night.
You're absolutely right. An angel spoke to you, I know.
And the angel sang from my right.
Oft in the stilly night, ere slumber's chain has bound me. How about giving the author for a bonus?
It's the Irishman, isn't it? Tom Moore.
Absolutely right. Thomas Moore in National Airs, Oft in the Stilly Night. And the full 4 lines are: Oft in the stilly night, ere slumber's chain has bound me, fond memory brings the light of other days around me. Irene, old time is yet a-flying.
Gather ye roses while ye may, old time is yet a-flying. And something, something, some today, tomorrow may be dying.
The rose that's this flower that smiles so sweet today, tomorrow will be dying.
Irene, just take the first line again in detail.
Gather ye rosebuds while ye may.
Absolutely
is it
right.
Herrick?
It is. Robert Herrick,
Yes.
Counsel to Girls. Dilys. And his cohorts were gleaming in purple and gold.
It's about the Assyrian, that is. The Assyrian came down with something
Like a wolf on
like a
the
wolf
fold.
in the fold.
Absolutely right. And the author?
Macaulay. Somebody like Macaulay. Not Macaulay, but somebody rather like Macaulay.
It is rather like Macaulay. As a matter of fact, to tell you the truth, I always think it is by Macaulay, but it ain't.
He's thinner than Macaulay, isn't he?
He's handsomer than Macaulay.
Byron.
It was. Byron, The Destruction of Sennacherib. Anyhow, well done. You'll get your full complement of 2. Denis. England hath need of thee. She is a fen of stagnant waters.
Milton, thou shouldst be living at this hour.
Well done. Author?
Wordsworth.
Well done again. And if you got the...
Well, you see, it's the one where he says we are selfish men. It's the one where he's telling off England. He says that everybody in England is selfish. Extraordinary the number of times, actually, that Milton crops up in other... I bet he's the most mentioned of other poets, isn't he? I mean, you know, name 2... mute inglorious Milton.
For does more than Milton can to justify
the
God's
ways of God's ways to man, yeah.
Well, I was looking this up in the Oxford Dictionary of Quotations. I had exactly the same thought. There are lists of mentions of Milton.
Milton, yeah.
Now for a round of miscellaneous divinations. If chiromancy is the foretelling of future events by study of the hand, and take my hand on it, it is, what would you study if you practiced the following? Frank. Sciomancy.
Sky.
Sciomancy. S-C-I-O-mancy.
No. It's telling the future by puddles.
No, by
Dilys,
shadows.
Exactly.
Shadows.
So shadows.
Clever. Shadows, madam, shadows. It's like telling time with a sundial.
Quite right. I heard your partner helped you. Well done, Dilys. I knew your classical education would get you. 2 marks for sciomancy, which means by consultation into the shadows, looking into shadows, or possibly the shades of the dead. It can have either meaning. Irene. Astragalomancy.
Good gracious. A-S-T-R-O or A-S-T-R-A?
A-S-T-R-A, gallomancy.
Oh, something to do with the stars.
So instead of doing it with the shadows, you do it with Cliff Richard by peering into Cliff Richard.
You speak for yourself. Astragalomancy, the course of the stars, or the...
If you think of the Greek for astragalus.
Oh, well, I didn't do Greek.
It's like a fellow's name, doesn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, it's the Greek for knuckle bones and came to mean dice.
I don't know.
Because the Greeks used to throw knuckle bones as dice. So it's really using dice. Dilys. Capnomancy.
Capno. It's something to do with smoke,
Terrific.
isn't it?
It is exactly. That's what it is. If you gazed into a campfire and foretold the future.
Smoke.
Well done. 2 marks. Denis. Omphalomancy.
Is that O-M-P-H-A-L-O?
Yes.
As with Omphalos, yes?
I think so.
Yeah. Omphalos, I believe, was something to do with the Delphic oracle. And it was the navel of the world, the tummy button of the world. And I presume there are people who go around thinking that if you look into people's tummy buttons, it will tell you what is going to win the 3:30 next Tuesday. And that's not a very bad way on that nudist beach at Brighton to go around. It's a very good excuse, actually, isn't it? So, I was simply divining the future from there.
Mistake on your eye, aren't
Yeah.
you?
Well, you're absolutely right. It is, as it were, contemplating your own or another's navel. And it was connected with the oracle. And another way of doing it, if you don't want to go to Brighton Beach, is to look at the number of knots on the navel of a newborn child.
Oh, I see.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
And now we come to the last round, and Frank and Denis's quotations. Frank, your quotation is Henry IV, Part 1, which is, of course, the title of a well-known play, but you don't get any marks for telling me the author.
Yes. Now, I'm going to be very short now because I'm just going to use the airwaves to give a little advertisement, a little small ad, because I want to sell something. And it's far, far too expensive to put in the papers. And there was a portrait of my dear face painted by a local lady, and I wanted to sell that, and I rang up the Times, said how much will an ad cost, and they said £1 a line. And I counted the lines. God, he said 240 quid. I can't afford that sort of thing, and I've got something really marvellous to sell. So I thought if I just sort of brought it in to the conversation, the producer won't notice that it's an ad. Only, we keep chickens, you see, and I got very worried about them rushing around the orchard and felt that I should really think about this and have a more systematic way of looking after chickens. And it seemed to me one of the difficult things is picking up the eggs and finding them. So I got some square boxes, and I made 2 holes in the bottom and a larger hole in the top, and thrust a chicken into a box each. So their legs came out and they could run around, you see. And they could feed because their neck came through the top. But as the eggs dropped, you see, they'd be held by the box. And then once a week, all I had to do was to go around and put my hand in the box. And it wasn't a success. I shouldn't have put my hand in the box to start with. A, they didn't lay because they were so terrified at this box they were carrying around. And B, although the box collected the eggs, or would have done if they laid in it, also collected everything else. But so I got rid of the boxes. And then a friend said to me, you must be careful of foxes, because the fox population is growing, and they'll be after your chickens. Whatever you do in the way of a chicken house, it must be fox-proof. So I made one of corrugated steel, and it was quite large, actually, and extremely heavy, with a corrugated iron bottom, no windows, because you couldn't have window in corrugated iron. And I shoved all the dozen chickens in, and I put perches about 4 foot off the ground, so that even if a fox did bite his way through the steel, he couldn't leap up and get the chickens. What happened was, of course, the chickens didn't realise whether it was day or night. So they laid eggs. They got so hot in there that they couldn't stand on the floor or sit down to lay. So they laid the eggs on the perches 6 foot up, which then dropped onto the corrugated iron, broke, rolled slowly down the hot metal and fried. And they got 8 very long, thin fried eggs a day, which wasn't in the contract at all. So I got rid of that. And then I decided that rather like contented cows give more and better milk, that contented chickens would give more eggs. So I ran some chicken wire round 4 apple trees in the orchard and made them a little place where they could roam around. And I got a tape recorder and played them 24 hours a day, Sing Along with Max, a sort of Muzak for hens. And to save them trouble, I dug little holes for them, to save them scratching away. And I arranged running races for them. And it all really should have been lovely, but it didn't work for some reason. They just refused to lay. They just stared at me when I tried to organise them and talk to them and did their impressions of Frankie Howard. Oh, 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 oh. And they stood on one leg and gazed at me balefully with one pink eye. And then because the thing I'm doing is approaching it from an amateur fashion. If I approached it like a professional and housed them as a professional would house them, we get lots and lots of wonderful eggs. So I invested in this thing called a chicken ark, which is a wonderful thing. It's about 30 foot long, and it's triangular shaped, and part of it is open to the sky, so that the birds, the hens can have the fresh air. Part of it is on grass. Then they go into a little cabin where it's all dark and they can lay their eggs, and it's got a floor. And there's another little cabin where they can all sleep. It's a beautiful thing. And we've had this about a month, and it's my fourth go at providing the right environment for these chickens, and it's a beauty. They've been laying 12 eggs every day. We've now filled up all the egg boxes in the house. We've got all the bowls are full of eggs. The shelves are lined with eggs. And last night, when we finished a little bit of supper, we had a light supper. It was egg mayonnaise, and followed by an omelette, an egg custard. My wife gave a funny little whimper I hadn't heard before. And she sort of flung her knife at the ceiling, where it embedded and went boing, boing, boing. And she said, "Never want to see an egg again. Never want another egg in my life. I'm fed up with eggs." So I've got this lovely, full environment for hens for sale. So if you'd like to make a little note, I'll tell you all about it now. Bargain, for sale, Henry the Fourth, part worn.
Now, Denis, let's see how you get on with For Whom the Bell Tolls.
Well, after I signed up for an exercise class recently, the instructor's parting words to me were, "OK then, Tiger, be here 6:30 next Tuesday and make sure you're wearing loose clothing." Well, I'm sorry to have to admit this, but I gave him one of my looks. I said, "Listen, lad, if I had any loose clothing, I wouldn't be needing your rotten exercises." Because, you see, what I was endeavouring to cope with at the time was a physical process that tends to beset many of us who have weathered a fistful of decades. My body had begun to develop a natural immunity to being thin. And as is customary, the first symptom of that tendency towards turning avocado shape was a certain unexpected tightness of the clothing. Almost overnight, I'd begun experiencing acute sensations of what might well be described as living beyond my seams. Whenever I now decided to do up the collar button of my shirt, the whole hairless area north of my neck immediately took on the hue of shrimp cocktail. And with my trousers, what matters there were even worse. Every pair I owned had now become so strained for room. Any time I was unwise enough to cross my legs unexpectedly, I found myself giving an involuntary audition for the Vienna Boys Choir. In fact, one way and another, I had to resign myself to the fact that about the only thing in my entire wardrobe that still fitted me was my umbrella. Now, where I felt the injustice of that state of affairs most keenly was in respect of what had long been my two favourite items of apparel, a couple of crocodile belts that I'd picked up ridiculously cheap in Ibiza back in the days when the pound was still worth nearly 7 shillings. And the thought of having to relinquish those belts just because the holes I'd been accustomed to using in them now seemed to have healed up, well, it gnawed at me so much that when a business meeting obliged me to stay for the night at a famous Arab-owned West End hotel, I jumped at the opportunity it offered. Now, if you're thinking to yourself, what opportunity? Well, that just shows that you've never tried drilling new holes in an old belt. Because one of the first things you learn about that is that the finest instrument for doing it is a kebab skewer? And where are you likely to come across the very sharpest kebab skewers in London? In the kitchens of an Arab-owned West End hotel. Which is why, the moment I arrived in my room, I rang for the chambermaid and asked her, gave her the 2 belts, asked her if she'd take them down to the chief chef and ask him if he'd kindly employ his best kebab skewer to pierce each of them a couple of times where I had indicated by means of penciled crosses. Well, looking back on it now, I do realise it would perhaps have been wiser if I'd gone down to the kitchen myself and explained. You see, because with the benefit of hindsight, I can now see that if you present a non-English speaking chef with any set of instructions, no matter what about, he's going to take that set of instructions as an indication of how you want something cooked. And never mind if the something happens to be 2 crocodile leather belts, because in an international hotel, they just shrug that off as some new variation of the F-plan diet. High fibre. So there were 2 things about the meal that evening that I am never likely to forget. One was the sight of the cover being taken off a solid silver serving dish to reveal 2 old belts nestling on a bed of chopped ice and lettuce. The other was the totally imperturbable tone of the head waiter's voice as he inquired of the assembled company, for whom the belt holes.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see from the score sheet that Frank and Dilys are the winners in this week's contest over Denis and Irene. Goodbye.
In My Word, the chairman was Antonia Fraser. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced by Tony Shryan and Pete Atkin. We present My Word. A panel game devised by Tony Shryan and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Antonia Fraser.
Thank you very much. Our teams today are Dilys Powell and Frank Muir against Irene Thomas and Denis Norden. First, a round to probe their vocabulary. Can you tell me, Frank, or hazard a guess at, the meaning of the following word? A baldric.
B-A-L-D-R-I-C.
Yes.
Oh, isn't it the sort of thing that Elton John is wearing at the moment on his recent tour of personal appearances? It's kind of bandolier. So it's the sort of thing that the Red Shadow might have worn. It's it's like a Miss England sash, Miss World, and instead of Miss World, it's got cartridges.
It is. Brilliant, as ever, 2 marks. Irene, to proselytize.
Proselytize? Oh dear. Is that when you convert somebody from one religion to another?
Spot on.
Oh, good.
2 marks.
Luck.
Dilys, fustian.
Fustian is a word which is really, I think, means some kind of cloth, but is used to suggest rather worn out and tedious performances.
Absolutely. And 2 marks. There is a bonus mark if anybody knows its derivation. It's so strange.
It's sort of cloth, is it?
Stuff.
Shoddy.
But if you know where the cloth came from, Irene?
There's that very old theatrical song, isn't it? Fustian means whether fustian means it's connected with the...
Well, actually, apparently it comes from a suburb in Cairo called Fustat.
Oh, get away.
As we all know.
But I think Frank gets a half for beginning to sing and then stopping. Denis, a rebus.
Rebus. Yes, they used to be very popular in Victorian times, and I think they're sort of being revived a little now. It's a form of making sort of visual puns with the letters of words or with words themselves. I went through a period where I collected those. I'm just trying... one was ABE3D. ABE3D, which is 3 in a bed.
Good.
Or there's SYMPHON.
Unfinished symphony.
The unfinished symphony.
Yeah, but it's got to be pictures.
But it's got to be pictures, Dennis.
Yes, I thought it was
it's got to be
camp
drawings.
with a tent.
Has it got to be one of those children's things where they do the back? I thought a rebus was any kind of sort of sleight of hand with letters and words. I mean, yeah, they have those children's books where they tell a whole story and they draw a cat and they have a C crossed out and the word's supposed to be at.
That's it. Well, I dare say it can mean both. But I think mainly it means pictures. I used to sign myself with an ant for Antonia as a child in people's autograph books, should they ask me, which they mainly didn't. I think it's mainly pictures, but I don't see why it shouldn't also be words. So get your marks.
I think to put any... Did you used to put any written any lines as well when you autographed your friends' books? Did you used to quote, by hook or by crook, I'll be first in your book and things like that?
I was always too slow for that.
I used to put, Jill's boy was tall and slender. My boy was quite thick-set. Jill's boy wore silk pyjamas. My boy wore flannelette. Jill's boy was wild and woolly. My boy was pure and good. Do you think I'd change my boy for Jules? You're damn well right, I
would. Before we go into round 2, here, Frank and Denis, are the quotations you were given for the last round. Frank, yours is, I left my heart in San Francisco. And yours, Denis, is the biggest aspidistra in the world. A round of origins and derivations. What was the origin of the following word or phrase? Or from what did it derive? Frank, mad as a hatter.
Oh, yes. This is... we all know this, don't we? It's the fact that hatters were supposed to act in an irrational manner in the sort of 18th century backwards, due to the fact they used some kind of mercury compound in preparing the felt for the hats. That's what we've all been told, and there's no reason to... And it was popularised, I think, firstly by Lewis Carroll, wasn't it?
You are doubtless right. You're certainly right about the derivation. It does. It comes from the millinery trade. Well done. Irene, the lion's share.
Ooh. Well, the only thing I can think of is that the lion, being a big and ferocious beast, always killed something and ate the best part of it. And then the jackals and vultures moved in afterwards, so he got the best part. And the other animals and birds got the rest, which wasn't quite as good.
You're along the right lines. Can you think of where this saying might have come from? That might help you.
Aesop fable?
Absolutely, Aesop.
Thanks to Denis here.
Well, I don't know the fable.
No,
I don't know
either.
the punchline of the fable.
Well, I think I'll give you 1 mark for Aesop. Actually, what happened in the fable, the lion joined all the other beasts in a hunt and claimed 1/4 of the spoil as his, another 1/4 for his superior courage, another 1/4 for his dam and cubs, who were clearly a greedy lot. And as for the remainder, he said, let him who will dispute it with me.
What a sensible animal.
Yes. Did we say sensible or selfish?
Well, comes to the same thing in fables.
Dilys, paraphernalia. Can you give me the origin?
It's a Latin word. And it means it's something to do with what was left to the wife. It's the part legally belonging to a wife in ancient Roman times.
Well, you're quite right about its meaning. It is the possessions allowed to the widow. When you said Latin, you meant Greek, didn't you?
Did I?
Yes.
Naturally, I meant Greek.
You always mean Greek. You're
Yes,
our
always,
resident
yes,
Greek
yes,
expert.
naturally.
I was stunned to hear you say Latin. It does in fact come from the Greek ferna, a dower, as you were well aware.
Sounds like something you take for a sore throat. Have we got some paraphernalia?
Given to you by Palliard, the Welsh chemist.
Denis, a thug.
Well, I associate this with the kind of novels written by people like John Masters or earlier in my youth, E. Phillips Oppenheim, where there was a kind of Indian assassins who were called Thagi, who had a religion or followed some kind of principle called Thagi, and somewhere in there comes dacoits, and there were always Lascar seamen. Well, no, that was pearl trading for copra.
No, the Lascar seamen played dacoits.
That's right. Yeah. But they were all part of a mysterious East that haunted boys' comics and so on, that you've got only a slight handle on at that time.
So far, so good or so bad. Could you just remind us all what you would do if you happened to be practising thuggy?
I think you'd kill somebody. It's the thing, you come up behind them with a sort of silk scarf. Don't do it on your sister. That's what I got into trouble for, yeah.
Well, you're quite right. Originally, these people were members of an Indian fraternity, and the reason they did this very unpleasant thing was to propitiate their god Kali.
Oh, that's right, Kali, yes. They used to do an incantation to Kali before, and it was the incantation that gave you time to struggle out of the rope, you see.
A round of first come, first served. Which of you four can first tell me what it is about the following Victorian quatrain that is literally odd or abnormal? A jovial swain may rack his brain and tax his fancy's might, to quiz in vain, for 'tis most plain that what I say is right.
What's
Say
odd
it again,
about it?
Antonia.
A jovial swain may rack his brain and tax his fancy's might, to quiz in vain, for 'tis most plain that what I say is right. It can't be said to have been written with great ease, that I agree.
It's rubbish, isn't it? I mean, as a message, it doesn't sing, does it?
So what's literally odd about
So
it?
there's something geometric inside it, isn't it? I mean, it's not that it's sense, because it's senseless. So it must be something funny about it.
It's one of those literary exercises of some kind.
322 letters. It's the only
Got
poem
the
with
commas in the
322
wrong
letters.
place or something like that. You can only chop the
No.
lines up and make something different.
Now, different ways, Frank and Denis are nearer.
It's one of those...
It's not exactly having 322 letters in it. You want to think more of what might be missing.
It's
always J.
It doesn't
No,
contain the
jovial.
letter Z. Or it does contain the letter Z. Or it's the only poem written in
I'll repeat.
1850.
I'll repeat my clue. It can scarcely be said to have been written with ease.
Ah, there's no E in
No
it.
E in it.
Yeah.
Dennis,
I didn't listen.
What's a good clue, yes, yeah.
Do you realise, Antonia, that there's been 6 of us wasted 4 minutes of our lives failing to answer that question?
Never waste time answering that sort of question.
next, a team round of impromptu interpolations. Frank and Dilys together. Can you give me, in 30 seconds, and Leonid, the loveliest scorer in the Western Hemisphere, will keep the score, half a dozen nouns that would appear in a dictionary between the words bargain and barnacle?
Bark has dog, a bark has tree, and bark has boat.
You're losing time without gaining marks.
Balm, as in floats on top of beer when it's fermenting. Barley. Barley corn. Yes, it's a noun. Don't shake your head. Look it up in the book. How much was it? 4?
All right, I allow barley corn.
Barge.
Barge. Leonie now says we must stop this foolery, and I am going to allow barleycorn. Even I've got a heart.
Thank you, Daddy.
How many did they get, Len? 2.5.
Out of how many? 50?
Denis and Irene, similarly, can you give me in 30 seconds half a dozen nouns that would appear between monastery and monk? Half a mark each.
Money.
Yes.
Money box. Money lender.
Yes.
Money bark.
Mongoose. There's a lady out there's a ticket.
Yes.
By golly, there'll be a free one for you next week. Mongrel. Dog.
Stop. You've done extremely well because you've got 3 marks.
It's money did it. Money will do it
A round of unusual Christian names. Can you tell me the surname of the literary character whose Christian name is as follows, and also who created him or her? Frank, Zuleika.
Dobson, Max Beerbohm.
2 marks, jolly good. Irene, Godolphin.
Oh, it's out of Dickens, isn't it?
No.
I think somebody's surname is Godolphin. Can't think of anybody's Christian name. Isn't it Pooter? No. Don't know then.
Denis?
No, cannot offer.
Dilys? Godolphin Horn was nobly born, he held the human race in scorn.
Is that Hilaire Belloc?
Hilaire Belloc.
Yeah.
Bad luck. Dilys. Wackford.
Wackford? Oh.
Yes.
That's Dickens. That's the schoolmaster.
Yes, his surname?
What's his surname?
Tis Dickens.
Squeers.
Quite right. Wackford Squares, horrible, well-named schoolmaster in Dickens. Denis. Tinkleberry.
Tinkleberry Thrush, who's the hero of a novel called Always Is Not Forever by Prunella Slyke.
Very good.
No, all right.
You had me very worried.
Yes, I did, didn't I?
I was gazing at my sheet and wondering if literature was dead.
Well, the whole art of these panel games is finding different ways of saying I don't know.
Who's to deny that there is a novel with that name?
No, it was actually Beachcomber. Did you not like Beachcomber?
Yes.
Tinkleberry Snapdriver.
I mean, you can't go through Beachcomber's funny name.
Yeah.
Tinkleberry Snapdriver by Beachcomber.
Sounds like
Otherwise.
a Walter Scott pseudonym.
And now we come to the last round and Frank and Denis's quotations. Frank, your quotation is Tony Bennett's famous song, I Left My Heart in San Francisco.
Well, I was asked by a lady journalist with red hair and hands. She said, you sing on my music. Have you many instruments at home? I mean, do you play and things? And I answered much in the same fashion as Beau Brummel answered. He was a vegetarian, and somebody asked him if he was a keen vegetarian, and he said, I once ate a pea. Well, in the same sense with what musical instruments have you at home? I said, I once had a traditional Scottish folk harp, and it was given to me 6 years ago in a small but moving ceremony at St Andrews University when I was elected rector by the students. And afterwards, the first sort of public occasion for the rector is to be the guest of honour at an evening out, a kind of dinner dance given by a club there called the Kate Kennedy Club, in which the whole object of the exercise is to get the newly elected rector drunk. You see, and which it was no problem to me. And it was a dinner jacket thing, and we started off with drinks at the master of the college in his rooms, and we had a few drams, you know. And then we all went on and were received by the Vice-Chancellor, and we had a few more drams there. And he said, he drew me aside and said, "You realise, Rector, the whole idea is to get you tiddly." I said, "Yes, so I hear, but I don't think really there's much chance of that." Vice-Chancellor. And I was feeling a bit warm at the time, and I couldn't take my jacket off, so I rolled my trousers up to above the knee and had a few more drams. And then we went on to the dinner dance, which was nearby in the little village of Anstruther. And we all piled into the coach, and they stopped me driving, which I suddenly felt I wanted to drive, but they stopped me. And we went on because the great friend of the university there has a disco called the Wigmaroo or something. And he every time we have one of these 3 yearly things of getting the new rector drunk, he gives the disco for the evening to these to his friends, the students. And we went along there, and it was terribly nice. We had a few more drams. And I said to the president of the Kate Kennedy Society, I said, "Really, the way you keep socking in with the drams, you should really call this the dram sock." And I laughed. And I was the only one who laughed. I think I laughed. I think it was round about 22 minutes. I thought it was a very funny joke, and I sort of went on laughing, and they sat me down, and then. And then they made a little presentation, and he said, "Rector, as this is your first function, we are going to give you a traditional Scottish folk harp," which was quite small, much smaller than I thought a harp should be. It was sort of oval, with a flat bit at the bottom, and was about, I suppose, 2 foot by 18 inches. And it had a big oval hole in the middle. And I said, "But it's got no strings. A normal triangular harp, as you run your strings over, it goes..." He said, "Yes, but the old Scottish folk harp, you see, as you draw your fingers over the strings, it goes..." I suppose it would. And I said, "This marvellous having a party in a disco, all the coloured lights flashing on and off." He said, "They haven't been switched on yet." And I then heard this plaintive Scottish voice shouting, "I've lost my loo seat." And I said, "You sure this is a harp? Because I can hear your friend the owner saying I've lost my..." He said, no, he lost his lawsuit. He was complete. And suddenly the evening was over, and I woke very late the next morning, about 5:15 in the evening, and I wasn't feeling at all well. I think those smokies didn't agree with me. And in fact, when I got home back to London, I was still a bit white and shaky, but I found I hadn't got the harp anymore. Somehow during the evening it had gone. So when people say, "What about musical instruments? Do you have any at home?" I say, "I once had a Scotch traditional harp." And they say, "What happened to it?" And I say, "I left my harp in some friend's disco."
Now let's see how you get on, Denis, with another song, the comic song made popular by Gracie Fields, the biggest aspidistra in the world.
Well, something I must admit to you, because as we agreed, there's to be no secrets between us. But the fact is, I don't really enjoy going to the theatre. Now, I take no pride in confessing that, particularly in view of the strong links our Madam Chairman has with modern drama, but the truth is, my attitude towards it could be summed up by an old New Yorker cartoon. I always remember it showed 2 men coming out from seeing a highly esteemed Broadway hit, and one of them is saying to the other, "And for that I missed dessert." Now, I must emphasise that where I'm concerned, that attitude's only partially prompted by the things that get put on these days. It's really much more to do with the fact that my very presence in a theatre seems to have the same effect on the actors that evening that Moby Dick had on sailors. I only have to turn up at the place, and things that are all right every other night suddenly take a turn for the disastrous. For that reason, I bet I'm one of the few people whose theatre-going memories include the only known performance of Peter Pan, where Tinker Bell made a crash landing in row C, the Tom Jones concert, where he crossed his legs too fast and immobilized himself for 3 days, and a memorable production of Giselle, in which Nureyev leapt so high he caught his foot in the loop of a rising curtain, a fate that was known ever after among balletomanes as hoist with his own leotard. Mind you, but performances of Shakespeare seem to have been where my presence has wreaked the most havoc. How well I remember sitting in the National one evening, watching the changing expressions on the face of Romeo as he slowly became aware that the balcony was about to fall on him. Nor shall I quickly forget a performance of Hamlet one night at the beautiful open-air theatre in Regent's Park, particularly the moment when Horatio failed to make an entrance from behind a bush because he'd just been mugged. But you may ask, if that was the effect I had upon Shakespearean productions, why then did I even consider booking a ticket for the RSC's recent distinguished production of Antony and Cleopatra? Well, it was simply because I happened to have more than a nodding acquaintance with a leading member of the cast. It was the asp that Cleopatra shoves down her bosom in the last act. Well, you see, the company had got it from a neighbour of mine, a chap they call a herpetologist who actually trains snakes for all kinds of stage, screen and television shows. And what I'd found irresistible was the way he'd gone about preparing this one for its Shakespearean debut. Because, you see, after taking the precaution of removing its venom, what he'd done, you see, was he spent months training the asp in what he called bosom recognition. In other words, he'd taught that snake that any time it was deposited inside human clothing, it was only to open its mouth and take a simulated bite if it found itself on an area of flesh that was all rounded and soft. Well, as I've indicated, I shouldn't, in all fairness, even have attended that first night. Not that I hold myself totally to blame for what happened. I think the company were at least partly at fault for giving the part of Cleopatra to an actress who happened to be, I've got to say it, flat-chested. Because that had the obvious consequence that when she dropped the snake into position, because there wasn't any rounded and soft flesh near that area, he just kept going till he found some. and that, as you probably guessed, was on an area of flesh that only came into public view when Cleopatra turned round. All right, it was a distressing moment for the actress concerned, but even had it been totally my fault, that still wouldn't have made it the global catastrophe it was reported as the following week in the next issue of the Stage newspaper. Because you know what headline they put above the story? The biggest asp disaster in the world.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see from the score sheet that Frank and Dilys are the winners in this week's contest over Denis and Irene. Goodbye.
In My Word, the chairman was Antonia Fraser. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced by Tony Schrein and Pete Atkin. we present My Word. A panel game devised by Tony Shryan and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Antonia Fraser.
Thank you very much. Our teams today are Dilys Powell and Frank Muir against Irene Thomas and Denis Norden. First, a round to probe their vocabulary. Can you tell me, Frank, or hazard a guess at, the meaning of the following word? Fumarole.
It's sort of smoking a cigarette, isn't it? Or smoking a handmade cigarette. Fumarole.
Can I give you a clue for a mark?
All right.
Think about Pompeii.
Oh, some volcanic...
Yes.
Ash. Volcanic explosion. But it's a... When the volcanoes, all sorts of things happen to the atmosphere, and the sky goes colours, and stuff descends, and somewhere in the middle of it lurks a little fumarole.
You're quite right.
Whatever it be.
Oh, well, if only you hadn't said that, I would have given you a mark, because the fumarole is the hole or vent from which vapour issues from a volcano. Otherwise, a hole for smoke. So I don't think you exactly get a mark, but well done all the same.
Don't deserve it.
Irene. Turbary. Turbary.
Oh, it's one of those ancient legal terms, isn't it? Like simony and that sort of thing. Isn't it something to do with land, forestry, verderers, and people who ride horses in the New Forest? I've always envied these people. They have nothing much to do except ride around all day. It's the right to cut turf on a piece of land, is it?
That's
Brilliant. 2 marks. Irene is quite right. It's the legal right to dig turf on another's ground. And it can also be the area, for those who wish to rush away and do it, where turf is cut. Dilys. Tergiversation.
Tergiversation. It means turning your back and reversing and changing your mind, and anything which involves going the other way. No?
Totally right. No, totally right. As somebody might vote Labour having voted Conservative or vice versa. Quite right. Denis, a contango.
Oh, yes. I know where this word is located. It's located in the stock exchange. I don't know what any word that begins with con has obviously got to have some reference to the stock exchange. And it's one of those things like debentures and, which I've never quite grasped. I just try and look adult when people are talking about it.
Well, you're totally right. It is the opposite of backwardisation, if that's a help.
Anything that's the opposite of backwardisation.
Takes 2 to contango.
I'll give you 2 marks. The precise meaning is a percentage down payment paid by the buyer of stock to postpone full payment until next settling day.
Would it be a deposit? Would roughly cover it.
If you want to use that kind of old-fashioned term. But that might be backwardisation.
Yes.
Before we go into round 2, here, Frank and Denis, are the quotations you were given for the last round. Frank, yours is "Don't cry for me, Argentina." And yours, Denis, is "Honesty is the best policy." A round of mandatory monosyllables. Can you, in a statement of at least 25 words, but they must all be one syllable, describe or comment upon the following? Frank, Christopher Columbus.
Christopher Columbus. Starting now. Chris, as he was known, had a boat and a map, and he went far and wide on the seas, and he found a land far, 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 far away.
Away.
And he called it...
Away.
No, 2 words. Nonsense. Yes. A ship is underway, you see, and it was away.
Nonsense.
Oh, right.
Actually, you'd got to 25, so I'm going to allow you 2 marks. But if it had been... You got to 25 before you said away, but I just want you to know that my decision is final.
And binding.
Irene, jealousy.
That is when you see a man or girl make eyes at your girl or man, and you get cross with him or her, and your eyes go green, and you feel... dear. Cross.
Well, you're over the 25. Well done. Dilys. 25 or more words of 1 syllable on how to make a ham sandwich.
You take some ham and some bread. You put the ham cut up in the bread. You need more, but it has 2 sounds. So I will not use it.
You're through. We could all...
No more.
We could all make a ham sandwich, thanks to your instructions, but without butter.
Without butter.
Denis, a sneeze.
I have done this thing with my nose all my life, but I still do not know why. I think it is to get rid of a thing up the shaft that runs up my nose.
You're there, I suppose.
Good. Thank goodness.
It can only get worse, yeah.
A round of 3-word quotations. Can you recite the lines of poetry from which the following 3 words have been extracted? Frank, dead of night.
Seems so familiar, a phrase, isn't it? Seems like used in hundreds of things. Dead of night. Can you give me a clue for half a mark?
We buried him darkly at dead of night.
It's, not a drum was heard, not a funeral note. As his horse on the ramparts we curried, we used to say at school. And it goes on, is about darkly, night, we buried him. And then the favourite line of all was, the sods with our bayonets turning. A line that none of us ever forgot.
It's like, did you used to do at school, please miss, what's a concubine?
Yes. Please miss, what's a woohoo?
And the poem?
The poem is the burial of Sir John Moore at Corunna.
Exactly, by Wolfe, as you were about
Well,
to
he
say.
didn't bury him. He wrote the poem. Charles Wolfe, not Thomas.
Naturally. In fact, the text, even more perfectly, is, "We buried him darkly at dead of night, the sods with our bayonets turning, by the struggling moonbeams' misty light, and the lantern dimly burning." You traded in a mark, or was it half a mark?
Half a mark, miss.
Right. A mark and a half for Frank. Irene, the craggy mountains.
Oh dear. Sounds like Sir Walter Scott.
No.
Or Wordsworth. Geffer Wordsworth. Do you know, Dennis?
Yeah. Come live with me and be my love, and we will all the pleasures prove.
Andrew Marvell.
Of its hill and dale and vale and field. That hill and dale and all the craggy mountains yield. I know it's all the craggy mountains yield, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Well done. And the poem is by...
Andrew Marvell.
No, I see why you said that.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
No.
Dear.
Earlier.
Is Marlowe,
Yes.
isn't it? Yeah.
Marlowe.
I thought it's up the craggy mountains, down the rushing lake.
Yeah, they're not go hunting. They're little men.
Seemingly not.
Well, you get... That side gets 2 marks. Dilys. No birds sing.
No birds sing. That's... It's Keats. Keats.
Yes.
It's Keats. It's La Belle Dame sans Merci. And no birds sing. Do we need more than
The
that?
sedge is withered by the lake.
Well, that's a very good line.
The sedge is withered by the lake.
The sedge is withered by the lake and no birds sing.
Quite right, 2 marks. In full or fuller, oh, what can ail thee, knight-at-arms, alone and palely loitering? The sedge is withered from the lake, and no birds sing. From La Belle Dame sans Merci by Keats, as Dilys has correctly said. Denis, light fantastic toe.
Yes, trip the light fantastic toe. Now, where does it come from? Come something, let us go, isn't it? Come and trip. Come, thank you, Irene. Come and trip it as you go on the light fantastic toe.
Is it L'Allegro?
Yes, Milton, L'Allegro. Hence loathed melancholy. Yeah. Any more you want?
No,
do you want page number?
You got it absolutely right. Your side, in fact, the next 2 lines after the light fantastic toe are, and in thy right hand lead with thee the mountain nymph, sweet liberty.
Yes.
And it is L'Allegro.
Take a liberty, it means.
Rather jolly Milton. In playful mood, one thinks.
A round of first come, first served. Which of you 4 can first identify and name the common substance of which the following can truly be said? I quote, "Although over normal ranges of temperature it occurs as a polymer, when pure it is of low conductivity, such conductivity being due to dissociation, first into hydrogen ions, which then associate with undissociated molecules to form hydroxonium ions."
Water?
It's the word.
Yes.
Is it water?
It is water.
It's the
Well
hydrogen
done,
ions.
I was working on it being how a thermal vest operates.
A round of Victorian vernacular of colloquial words and phrases commonly used a century or more ago. Can you deduce what was meant by the following expressions? Frank, to be all mops and brooms.
Overly housewiferly.
No.
Riotous. Yes.
Chatty. Not chatty.
Yes,
Jokey.
you could be chatty and riotous, but it's in this state.
Are you...
Drunk.
Yes.
Yes.
Dilys has got it. 2 marks. Irene, a government signpost.
A government signpost. Income tax.
Did we have it? Robert Peel, wasn't it, invented? Something.
Oh, it's a physical thing. It exists. You can look at it.
You can look at it.
Not very nice.
Property tax.
No, you can look at it and it's not very nice. And it existed in Victoria. Is it something like a workhouse or one of those unpleasant...
I'm going to throw it open to the other side. Frank?
I think it's a gallows.
It is a
The
gallows.
gibbet.
Ah.
A government signpost. Dilys. Unwhisperables.
Unwhisperables.
Yes.
Article of clothing.
Yes.
A lower article of clothing.
Yes.
Yes. Can I go on?
But don't whisper it, please.
Dare you?
Being polite, I shall say stockings. It isn't stockings. Is it stockings?
I think it could be anything never.
Anything that... Oh, well...
Leather.
Well, it
Could be never.
It could be stockings. You and I, being very polite, will say it's stockings. Anyhow.
Stockings, trousers, anything never, which is unmentionable and even more politely unwhisperable. Denis, what about Colonel Chesterton's everlasting staircase?
Everlasting staircase. Would it be something where you dance? Would it be that awful sort of jigging up and down as though that it's something on a scaffold, a person on a scaffold does?
No, it's not. It's not quite so grim. It's unpleasant.
An everlasting staircase.
It's
a perpetual
yes.
motion thing. Is it? Is it the thing that they used to make comics do, going round and round and round?
No, up and down.
Up treadmill.
Yes.
Treadmill.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Frank. Yes. Did a bit of Marcel Marceau there, unknown to the listeners.
It is, in fact, a treadmill as used in houses of correction, so called after its initiator, one Colonel Chesterton. And now we come to the last round and Frank and Denis's quotations. Frank, your quotation is that song from Evita, Don't Cry for Me, Argentina.
If my hairdresser is listening, this is a message to him, because I tend to doze off when I'm having my hair. I hate having my hair done. I hate it. But I have to have it done. And I tend to sort of relax and just go to sleep. And you can do anything. It's all changed, hasn't it? When I was a lad, they used to put a plank across the chair and sort of slide it forward if you had a shampoo. And my chap I used to go to on Fridays was called Sid. And he had a bracket, and it said Sid, late of Walthamstow. And we always wondered why he claimed that. If it had been Bond Street or something, it would have made sense. But it was Sid, late of Walthamstow, and it cost threepence. And you couldn't be shaved on Saturday morning because they were too busy. And it was done extremely rapidly. A tremendous lot of clipper work. And Sid, unfortunately, used to stop operating the clipper just before he removed it from the hair. So he used to tweak away great tufts of our boyish hair. And it was all done in silence. Occasionally there was a, next! And we on the bentwood chairs would put down our copy of the Daily Sketch, or Razzle, and move up one. But now it's all changed, isn't it? Now, I mean that they're called unisex, which they're not. They're bisex. They allow both lots in. And both lots do your hair. You don't know who you're going to get. It's frightful. And they have strange names. I mean, you don't say, when you go to have your hair done, you don't say Sid, late of Walthamstow, do you? You get things like, what are they called? The Main Line, and Cut and Come Again, and Hair Today, I saw, which I thought was very dubious. The inference being Gone Tomorrow. And you never know. I have to take your glasses off to have your hair done. Otherwise they drop into the shampoo and he hits them with the clippers and things. And I thought that my chap was actually a girl. And I mentally called her Ina Sharples. Well, she was a vast and had a huge bun on top. And once I went in with my glasses on, it's a fella. It's a chap. Big chap, and he had all this sort of bouffant rubbish with his hair. And they all the lads in the barber shop, all coiffured. Their hair leans sideways. There's a jet of air. They look like Smike in Nicholas Nickleby, you know. They shave all the sides, and this great top knot which bends in all directions. And I'm afraid if I go, because it also works very fast. You know, there's an urgency about him. And he snip, 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 snip. And it takes hours. But he snips a hair at a time. He combs, holds it between two fingers, and just cuts one of the hairs there. All done with tremendous franticness and urgency. And I'm afraid tomorrow, when I go there, I'm going to just doze off. And he's going to do me up. He's always been saying, oh, I could do wonderful things with your hair. I could really backcomb it, and I could give it texture, I could give it body, I could really... Listen. So, tomorrow, hairdresser, if you're listening, if I should fall asleep, don't coiffure me, urgent Ina.
Now let's see how you get on, Denis, with a proverb first recorded in 1599, for those who are counting. Honesty is the best policy.
Well, by one of those 1,000,000-to-1 coincidences that render this programme so endlessly fascinating, that phrase just happens to be the motto of this new party-giving service I've started called Rent-a-Creep, with which is incorporated Hire a Wimp and Lease a Louse. Now, as I explained in my interview on the Guardian business page, what first gave me the idea for this service was an article I read in a certain glossy magazine, because under the title, How to Make Your Next Party a Success, they printed a whole list of experts you can hire to take over such tasks as preparing the food or serving the drinks or turning your drawing room into the likeness of a South American rainforest. And straight away when I read it, I thought to myself, none of those things help. Because if there's one thing I happen to be an expert on, it's boring parties. I can't tell you the number of times I found myself nursing a drink and mutely wishing, longing, praying for some excuse to get up and go home. And this has been when I've been the host. Because that's when a boring party gets really excruciating. When you pass among your guests and realise the small talk is getting smaller and smaller. The one chap's been reduced to counting the grains of salt on his salted peanut. And you can feel your own face getting to the stage where any minute you may have to send for the doctor because your smile has locked. I tell you, I have given parties of such monumental dullness, we got thank you letters from the people we didn't invite. And that wasn't because I hadn't tried all those things that the magazines and party experts recommend. One way to put your guests at their ease straight away, some of them will tell you, is to work on the Goliath principle. In other words, as soon as possible, get them all stoned. All right, last winter, expressly for that purpose, I prepared a punch of such explosive alcohol content, it registered 9.3 on the Richter scale. And what were the results? The evening turned out so bone-achingly tedious, it was like an exercise in group yawning. They'd all gone home by 9:45, and this was New Year's Eve. But then came a party where, for no apparent reason, a group of people who all evening had been lolling around in the usual postures of sullenness and resentment, not only began to exchange smiles, but by midnight they were indulging in the kind of hijinks Caligula would have hesitated to suggest. And what had provoked this strange, unexpected drawing together? Then I realised its onset had coincided with the departure of a neighbour of mine who, for reasons of this narrative, I shall call Arnold Trout. Now, Arnold is a man I would hesitate to describe as a slob, not simply because for him that would be a step up the social scale, but also because it fails to reflect the true extent of his obnoxiousness. A large, veal-complexioned person, he manages to be at one and the same time, a backslapper, a lapel grabber, and a nose breather. And his other unendearing characteristics range from perpetually picking his teeth with book match covers to leaving a trail of squashed Kleenexes wherever he passes. His eating habits appear to have been inspired by the film Jaws, while his behaviour towards any females present comes under the title of a somewhat earlier film, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But because of these failings, Arnold possesses a unique and valuable social asset, in the same way that some people can bring a smile to everybody's face the moment they enter a room. He can lift hearts the moment he leaves a room, which is why he is now what you might call the working capital in this party-giving service I've called Rent-A-Creep, you see. And if you'd like to hire his services for your next function, well, I can only suggest you make your booking soon, because more and more hosts are discovering that when it comes to ensuring that your guests really get together, there's nothing like giving them somebody they can all hate. As Arnold and I put it in our brochures, never mind the catering or the bar service, a nasty is the best policy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see from the score sheet that Denis and Irene are the winners in this week's contest over Frank and Dilys. Goodbye.
In My Word, the chairman was Antonia Fraser. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced by Tony Schrein and Pete Atkin. We present My Word. A panel game devised by Tony Schrein and Edward J. Mason. And here to introduce the teams is Antonia Fraser.
Thank you very much. Our teams today are Dilys Powell and Frank Muir against Irene Thomas and Denis Norden. First, a round to investigate their vocabulary. Can you tell me, Frank, or hazard a guess at, the meaning of the following word? A quincunx.
You get this, do you not? This is strangely familiar. You get this in cuts, as they used to say, in books on estate gardening at the beginning of the 18th century and the end of the 17th, because it was a formal, in those days, it was a formal formation of trees, where you had 4 trees in a square and one in the middle, hence the quin, the 5. That's the only use I know of it.
Well, it's brilliant of you. John Evelyn cites it quite a bit. You could also use it for anything in a sort of pattern of 5 with something in the centre. And it does have an astrological meaning. If planets are at a difference of 5 signs, which makes 150 degrees, that aspect is called a quincunx.
So it's a 5 of spades.
Yeah.
Yes, I might give you another mark.
Go on then, go on. Force yourself.
Can you think of another, before you get this mark, can you think of something similar?
A domino.
Quite right. And you could add a dice. I will give you an extra mark.
Well, I would say a die.
You might
lose a mark.
Irene, burlap.
Burlap, B-U-R-L-A-P. That's a material of some kind, I think. It almost sounds like a noise made after an exceptionally good lunch. But I think it's a sort of sacking, a rough canvas or sackcloth.
It is indeed. A sort of coarse canvas. Quite right. 2 marks. Dilys. Dilys, an erg.
It's one of something. It isn't more than one.
It's definitely one of
It's
something.
one. Erg. There is a... can't remember, it's Latin or Greek. A word which somehow means working. Ergo.
Yes, you're on the right
Ergo.
lines.
I'm on the right path.
If I were to say, how many ergs did you do today?
I should say none. It's an unit of work.
It is. Quite right. I shall give you 2 marks, and then I shall read you the definition, which will absolutely make you quail. The quantity of work done by a force which, acting for 1 second upon a mass of 1 gram, produces a velocity of 1 centimetre per second. So now you know.
I know.
That's about it.
Both Denis and I were aircraftsmen during the last war, and aircraftsmen were the lowest form of life, were known as Irks. And we were both quite separately, we hadn't met then, in concert parties, and I'm sure we both use the same line as and I'm an Irk, not an erg, which is a unit of work.
Denis, an odalisque.
Ah, yes. That's one of those sort of Turkish ladies in see-through trousers. There was a marvellous word that was coined, I think, by James Thurber, for a mixture of plump and voluptuous, and he called it voluptuous. And that's, I always think, an odalisque. They sort of hang around Turkish harems. The top of their face is covered, but the bottom of their legs aren't.
Actually, plumptuous.
Plumptuous?
Is it rather nicer?
Or voluptuous, yeah.
Plumptuous.
Am I getting near? I mean, I can hang about this subject, yeah?
If you've got something more to say,
No,
that would
no,
be very
not really,
exciting,
no.
but you're quite right. You might like to know the derivation, which is also exciting. It's corrupt Turkish, and it's from oda and lick, expressing the function. That's what the dictionary says.
Oh. Denis, you must have had a rich emotional life.
Turkish delight, indeed.
These odalisques.
It really dregs when it's corrupt Turkish.
Isn't it?
Before we go into round 2, here, Frank and Denis, are the quotations you were given for the last round. Frank, yours is somewhere over the rainbow, and yours, Denis, more in sorrow than in anger. A round entitled Something in Common. Can you tell me what the following words or names have in common? Frank. A she-dragon, a cut-bob, a dalmahoy, and a pigeon's wing.
Dalmahoy, and a pigeon's wing. Not butterflies, are they? No. I think a cut bob is a wig, or was a wig. She-dragon, dalmahoy, pigeon's wing could be a wig, couldn't it? Pigeon's wings, presumably, the 2 of them.
Feathers.
What?
Feathers.
Feathers will be in there somewhere, yes. She-dragon could be, again, a rather nasty wig. Dalmahoy, Irish wig. Wigs. Well, cut bobs are wigs, so they're all wigs.
They are indeed all wigs. Brilliant. Irene. Gilbert, Richard, Edward, Margaret, Joan, and Anne. What have these got in common, apart from, of course, being Christian names?
Gilbert, Richard, Edward, Margaret,
Joan,
and Anne. Anne with an E at the end, or?
Yes.
Well, they're not all kings and queens of England, are they?
no.
Are they historical characters, or are they in a book?
They're not in a book,
They're
no.
not in a book. They're real people, are they?
Yes.
Do you know what they're like? That looks like, when you write the words all down, it looks like if you ever have to get one of those key fobs with somebody's name on it for a present.
Yes.
You look through, and the only names there are Gilbert, Richard, Edward.
The one that you're after. Well, a personalised mug.
Like souvenirs bars. Oh dear. Are they're real people, you said? Are they all royalty or?
No, they're not royalty.
Ah.
Are
And
they
the
members
person-
of a family?
Yes,
Yes.
Is it Shakespeare?
it is.
Is it?
Yes.
But
Oh,
what is it to
yes.
do with Shakespeare? Are there
They're-
other people who... They're all his sort of in-laws
Relations.
and things.
They're his siblings, apparently. They all had William Shakespeare as a brother.
Oh, did they?
You know this programme is supposed to be educational.
That's right, yeah.
Yes. That's a lesson to me.
Yeah.
Dilys, a mitre, a coxcomb, a boar's head, and a rosen star.
The shapes into which you cook meat.
No, but you're very close.
Am I?
I mean,
Well,
supposing you were eating the meat.
yes.
Awful greasy
I shouldn't be using a
spatula.
mitre to eat it with.
No,
No.
but you might wish to...
I might be wearing something. It's a form which you fold your napkins.
Quite right. Well done.
Triangle and Lily are the only ones I know.
Denis, wow, wow, boo, boo, wan, wan, and bow, wow.
Oh, Frank. Frank remembers this because we once did a program where we hit on the idea of that what they call onomatopoeic words like bow wow are different in other languages. In other words, the French don't say when they talk about a dog. But we wanted to know what the words were, so we spent a week, and I don't know if you ever tried ringing up the Portuguese embassy and saying, excuse me, what do you say in Portugal when a cock crows, and then doing the same for India and Indonesia and all around the world, And these, I don't know, I suppose it's the sound a dog makes, and it reinforces the point we were trying to make, was that foreigners are not just different versions of us. They are entirely different in kind, because anybody who can think that a dog's bark sounds like boo-boo, it comes obviously from a different planet than the English. I mean, a dog obviously goes bow-wow. I mean, the boo-boo, you I'll have something wrong with your ears to hear it that way.
Whereas, in fact, it would come from Italy.
Would it be Italy? Well,
Yes.
That wouldn't...
One isn't surprised, is one?
No, not surprised at all. Who's the wow-wow?
Yeah.
That's Germany. Germans think dogs say wow wow.
Wow-wow, do they?
And Japanese think they say wan wan. And sensible people, as you pointed out, know they say bow wow.
Bow-wow, exactly, yeah. Well, it shows you, they're just not the same.
A round of first come, first served. Which of you can first tell me what it is I refer to when giving you the following information? In the Sandwich Islands they have 12. In Burma, 19. In Spain, 27. In Armenia they have 38. In Russia, 41. And in parts of Ethiopia, otherwise known as Abyssinia, 202.
Letters in the alphabet.
Quite right. He's absolutely right.
Heaven.
A round of second lines. Can you recite the first, the opening line, of the poem whose second line is as follows? Frank, the proper study of mankind is man.
Essay on Man, Alexander Pope, Huffmark. Know thyself comes into it. It's don't have the temerity. It's along the lines of don't have the temerity of the Almighty to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. But what the words are, I'm not so certain.
In fact, it is, know then thyself, presume not God to scan. The proper study of mankind is man. Irene, till earth and sky stand presently at God's great judgment seat.
Is the last word in the first line meat?
Yes.
So east is east
The
and west
is
west,
and
yes?
never the twain
Twain
shall
shall
meet.
meet.
Earth and sky stand presently at God great judgment seat.
Quite correct.
Oh, Denis Norden.
Yeah.
And the author?
Kipling.
Kipling, The Ballad of East and West. Dilys. I galloped, Dirk galloped, we galloped all three.
It's how I brought the good news from the gents at Eggs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did I even know? I think that's all I ever knew about the galloping.
Just the first line, it's the beginning of all the galloping.
Yes. It's just we set off on our horses.
Well, yes, up to a point.
We set off on our horses. Now, come on, let's get that to
No,
rhyme.
but what did you have to do? You can't just set
get
off
on
on a
the
horse.
horse.
Yes.
We galloped.
We sprang to the saddle, wasn't it?
We sprang to the saddle. Oh, well done. Then finish it.
For some incomprehensible...
Joris was in there.
Doris?
And
No, Joris.
Oh, Doris.
You don't get as far as the saddle. It's I sprang to the stirrup.
Stirrup. Oh, yeah.
And Joris and he.
Joris, yeah.
What was this
Dirk
good
galloped.
news they were bringing? Does anybody know?
I can't remember, yes. You get floods of letters. You don't. It's in there somewhere. But,
Is it?
Yes, it's the good news of the battle or something.
It's how they brought the good news from Ghent to Aix. And people can write in and say what the good news is. And I'm not going to tell
First
you.
the good news.
And author?
Browning.
Quite right. I shall
Robert.
give you...
For an extra mark.
Always known as gravy
You
to
get
his
a-
friends.
You get 2 marks. You don't get 3 marks. Denis. Over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore.
Yeah. But that's a sort of ghosty thing. Was something tapping at the window, wasn't there? Once upon a midnight, as I something faint and weary, yes.
Well-
Did I have something faint and weary?
And the title of the poem and the author?
It was Edgar Allan Poe, and it's The Raven, or Nevermore, I don't know. Yeah.
In fact, it goes almost exactly as you said. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary, over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore. Anyhow, I'll give you 2 marks. A round of homophones are words which are pronounced the same, but which are spelt differently. What 2 such words can be defined as follows? Frank, a histrionic prompt, and ladies and gentlemen in waiting.
Oh, that's good. That's very good, isn't it? The second one. Q. Histrionic prompt is a queue. Ladies and gentlemen wait in a queue. Separately, usually.
Quite right. Irene, a desiccated grape and contemporary.
Desiccated grape. Not prune, not sultana, not currant. Currant, yes. Current affairs.
Brilliant. Dilys, a vase-shaped vessel and to merit.
Urn.
Earn and earn.
Urn, yes. And urn, yes.
What we do
You earn.
with our
You
herbs.
E-A-R-N. You
Exactly.
earn. Not carrying an urn, but you might have one at home, possibly.
2 marks which you have earned. Denis, superficially golden and culpability.
Guilt. G-I-L-T-G-U-I-L-T.
Quite right. And now we come to the last round, and Frank and Denis's quotations. Frank, your quotation is a line from the song Judy Garland made famous, Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Tonight I want to tell you about my small bore shooting gallery. I bore very easily. A very low threshold of boredom. But I want to talk tonight about the small bores, not the big ones. Not the huge people who important people who really bore you rigid. Do you remember Malcolm Muggeridge's description of the late Anthony Eden? Said he wasn't just a bore, he bored for England. Well, nor the small baby bore. You know the chap at the office who's got this baby and says, look, I'm not going to bore you with this because I made a pact not to do this, but I've got these 82 photographs I've got of Peregrine, and It's his 5th birthday, and I bought one of these. He's 5 months old, and I bought a camera with a motor drive, so you can take 2 pictures a second. And I got him this train set, this electric train set. And it's very interesting to see how a 5-month-old baby reacts to the train set. And he really does enjoy it, because here's the first 70 photographs. And notice the way his head is so flexible as he follows the train round. No, I mustn't bore you with it. Oh, there's the other thing that he speaks, he calls me Dada. Well, at least he did until recently, and I was blowing up a balloon for his 5th monthly birthday. And I blew too hard, and it burst. And he said, "Pop." And do you know, he's never called me that before. But I wasn't really thinking of that sort of small bore. I was thinking of the small bore who has an obsession. Like, there's a chap I know called J. Edward Hoover, and he's a fellow of the Bicyclists Institute. So he goes around calling himself J. Edgar Hoover of the FBI. And actually he's a very, very nice retired postman. And he's to be found in stains. I don't mean by that his shirt always has gravy down the front. Although, come to think of it, mostly it does. But he lives in Staines, a town in Middlesex, the other side of the river from I live. And I know him terribly well. And he rides a bicycle, behind which he tows a small sort of soapbox on wheels, in which he has the impedimenta of his obsession, which is wine-making. He was a founder member of the Staines Wine Club. But the trouble is that he retired and is now sort of touring the world, finding new things to make wine out of. And his home is full of jars and red rubber tubing. It looks like a cross between the stage set of The Sorcerer's Apprentice and an enema factory. He's now touring the world with a tent in this little soapbox he drags behind the bicycle, making wine wherever he goes. We're on holiday in Corsica in May, and the maquis was in bloom, and then J. Edgar Hoover appears with his little tent and his everything, and a jar of wine. He forces it on you. "You must try it," he said, "made of the maquis. It contains myrtle, it contains an arbutus, and mint." It all sounded marvellous, and we tasted this dreadful muck. Sacking marinated in the water the daffodils have been in. And it doesn't make you upset, but you just don't want food and drink for a week afterwards. So that's the sort of small bore I'm warning you against, and you can't escape him, because he's now touring the world with his jars of awful fluid, which he'll make you drink. So in the next year or so, even though you're on your holiday and you're on your honeymoon, you are not safe. As Judy Garland sang, "Somewhere, Hoover the wine bore."
Now let's see how you get on, Denis, with another line, but made famous this time in Hamlet by Horatio, describing Hamlet's ghost father, more in sorrow than in anger.
Do you know, the first sentence ever to be spoken on the telephone was, "Mr. Watson, would you come here, please? I want you." That's a fact. The speaker was Alexander Graham Bell, who invented the instrument, and he was talking to his assistant, who was in an adjoining room. Now, as to why he was telling Mr. Watson that he wanted him, I really don't know. I don't think there was any kind of physical need. I think there was probably, some technical reason that he'd spilt a carboy of acid down the front of his trousers. That kind of thing. But why I'm drawing your attention to that quotation, to the wording of it, it's because of my firm belief that if Alexander Graham Bell had begun that telephone conversation with it today, what he'd have heard in reply would have gone something like this. "Hello, this is Mr. Watson. Thanks for phoning, but I'm afraid I'm not here at the moment. However, if you'd care to leave a message, I shall call you back later." please speak when you hear the signal. Whereupon, if Alexander Graham would anything at all like me, he'd simply mutter that word that women use when they snag a brand new pair of tights and throw the phone at the cat. Because all I'm trying to do is make the point that out of all the technological gadgets that have bedeviled our lives over the last decade, nothing has driven me to such excessive use of Grecian 2000 as telephone answering machines. Well, for one thing, the mere process of talking to them is costing me a fortune. See, for some strange reason, the moment one of them says to me, "Will you please speak now?" all my powers of forming a coherent sentence just simply desert me. The only thing I can do is ring off, work out what I'm going to say, rehearse it out loud, then dial the number again. Now, as mathematicians among you will have gathered, that obliges me to make each call twice, which effectively doubles my phone bill. And let me tell you something else about these machines that's had me gnawing my fingernails practically up as far as the elbow. If you do decide to leave a message with one, what you say to it mustn't take longer than 30 seconds. Well, I don't mind admitting, because I am someone who by nature is not only rather slow of speech, but is given to somewhat eloquent and occasionally significant pauses, I couldn't even call for help in 30 seconds. But the main reason that all these barriers to communication are now making me so furious is because the latest person to shelter behind one of them is Frank. Now, up till recently, if you only knew the number of times a day we used to link up for long, cosy telephone gossip, him in his mink-lined study overlooking Staines Reservoir and me in my creaking office up the peasant end of Covent Garden. But now, if I've got a bit of gossip to relay to him now, I've either got to wait till he opens up for human discourse again, or else work out how I can phrase my news in that kind of Tarzan talk that you have to use to get it all in. You know, "This Dennis have important news. Please contact soonest. Roger." And then I think, now, would he think that message has come from Roger or from Dennis? So what I do is I write it out in full and then have to use a kind of high-speed delivery that makes the whole thing sound like Charlie Chan being done by a chipmunk. You know? Well, the whole effort is so aggravating. I've come up with what I think would be rather a good idea for answering machines generally. Wouldn't it be possible to modify these things so that instead of just passively accepting messages from people, they could actually send some out? They could phone up. In other words, so that I'm sitting at my desk one day, the phone would ring, I pick it up, lift the receiver, a voice says, "Hello, this is Frank Muir's answering machine speaking. Because Frank's got to get on with some work, it would be better not to phone him for a while if you don't like talking to answering machine." Now, I think that would not only be a boon to mankind, but to my way of thinking, not only cut down my bills, it would avoid the unsatisfactory picture of the pair of us that machine currently presents. That picture being, of course, the one Shakespeare allowed Horatio to describe: Muir in Surrey, Den in anger.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I see from the score sheet that Frank and Dilys are the winners in this week's contest over Denis and Irene. Goodbye.
In My Word, the chairman was Antonia Fraser. The questions were compiled by Peter Moore, and the programme was produced by Tony Shryan and Pete Atkin.